Jessica had just started university and moved into an old dorm from the 1960s. After settling in, strange noises and the sound of doors slamming echoed through the night. One night, Jessica found an old photo from the 1980s. She didn't recognize anyone in the photo, but there was one strange thing, a blurry face in the background that seemed to be missing. Every night, Jessica began to notice a strange silhouette appearing in her room. Rumors had it that many years ago, a student had died in that room. One morning, Jessica woke up to find her bed soaked in sweat, and the pillow still warm. But there was no one beside her. The other students said that every year, strange disappearances happened in the same dorm, and no one could ever explain what happened. One night, Jessica saw the same silhouette in front of a friend and started to run. After that night, she never stayed in that dorm again. Jack discovered the abandoned biology lab behind the campus and heard creepy rumors about the experiments that had taken place there. When Jack secretly entered, he found a table full of old animal lab specimens and strange symbols. It was abandoned, but he could still feel something was wrong. That night, Jack heard the sound of something being dragged across the floor, but when he looked around, there was no one there. The machines, however, were still running. Jack found old files containing notes on human experiments and shadow creatures. It was clear that these experiments were not ordinary. Jack began feeling like someone was always watching him whenever he dared to go near the lab. One evening, Jack decided to spend the night there. As he entered the lab, he noticed the lifeless eyes of the old test animals staring back at him. After that night, no one ever entered again. When Joe started university, he was eager to join an old fraternity. But the Owls had a dark history, with a student disappearing every year. One evening, Joe heard strange noises coming from the upper floors. He and the other members climbed to the attic, where they found a hidden room, but the key was missing. One night, Joe saw a shadow in the attic. No one was there, but he could hear the voices of the missing students, calling from above. The fraternity members decided to restart an ancient ritual, one that hadn't been done in years, and it was said to be very dangerous. One night, Joe felt a dark, malevolent force closing in on him. He noticed that the eyes in the old paintings on the walls were following him. Joe never returned. The fraternity members say his ghost still watches them from the attic. Mary heard about an old professor who taught in a classroom in the ancient university building. The students claimed that the professor had died horrifically many years ago. One day, Mary was late for class and found no one in the room. However, the blackboard was covered in complex, unreadable equations. While studying late one night, Mary saw the shadow of the old professor. But the equations on the board started changing rapidly. Mary learned that the professor had collected the souls of his lost students. The equations on the board were actually a death formula. One evening, when Mary stayed behind in class alone, she saw the professor's shadow approaching her. In his eyes were the souls of his lost students. As Mary tried to leave, she heard the professor's screams. As she rushed to the door, everything went dark. After that day, no student ever returned to that classroom.